Hey everybody, Michael Snyder here, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today's July 18th, and right now we're looking at the lower level water vapor loop here. You can see the trough across the Gulf of Alaska here, building a bit of a ridge here over the next few days. We're going to warm up here across Pacific Northwest. Then we're going to watch this trough inch a little bit closer and try to cool us down. And even through the extended runs, it's showing a bit of precipitation, potentially reaching even western portions of western Washington, some of southwest Vancouver as well. We'll take a look at those details here coming up in a moment. Check out Tropical Storm Calvin down here now approaching the Hawaiian Islands off from the east, moving towards the west here. It has weakened considerably, but could still bring some interesting conditions for the islands down there. But anyway, we'll look at the extended forecast here across the Pacific Northwest as well, and we'll see how much we're going to warm up and how much we're going to cool down here in a minute. This is looking at the visible satellite imagery. You can see some of that smoke across Alberta and some of BC up there right now. Washington, Oregon still doing pretty well as far as that smoke is concerned. You can see some of that marine layer down the Strait of Juan de Fuca and towards Whidbey Island and whatnot here across southwest Washington. That should be burning off during the day today, and we're going to warm up quite nicely here across the area. You can see some smoke down here across Oregon too as well. If we put that into motion, let's go ahead and take a look at that. You can kind of see that bouncing around a little bit. There is also the flat fire downhill here that's burning across southwest Oregon as well. It produced some smoke yesterday, still producing some. Looks like it's dropping down across the coastline there. This is looking at Paradise Mount Rainier. Nice day up there. Not expecting any thunderstorms for the most part across the Cascades of Washington. Nice day for a hike out there. Nice blue sky. And this is the weather station I've been testing out here at my house. I've got 3 of them going right now. I'm testing all the data on them. All solar powered, all wireless. The thermometer is very accurate. The ultrasonic anemometer is very good as well. The smartphone app is exceptional at this station also, so I highly recommend this. Go ahead and click on the link down below if you want to order one and save 10% on it. This is looking at SeaTac yesterday. Look at that, right about average, 77. The average high for this time of year is 78 for SeaTac. No precipitation, but there is a fantasy rainfall forecast we're looking at here as we go on in through the week here coming up. We'll take a look at that in a little more detail. No precipitation yet this month. The average for July is only 0.6 of an inch. This is looking at that system that moved through and brought kind of the gusty conditions across the region here. But check out the ridge building across up into BC here, all the way up into the Northwest Territories and the Yukon there. Trough hanging out on the coastline. Then you can see it kind of pinwheel and try to inch closer here as we go on in through the extended forecast here. And this is the system that may eventually try to bring us a little bit of precipitation. The models are upticking a little bit in some of the amounts coming in here, but it's something we're gonna have to watch here over the next couple of days. This is a little bit closer look here. This is the ensemble mean, the average of all 50 ensemble European members, and you can see the ridge a little bit more, building out a little bit more to the east here, and then you can see the trough out over the Gulf of Alaska here. So we're going to be right on the borderline here as we roll through next week, and here probably bringing some onshore flow at times across the region, not allowing for a big heat dome and no major heat wave in our future right now for the Pacific Northwest. This is looking at the NAM 3KM. And you can see how the wind gradient has kind of died here, the pressure gradient. You can kind of see things even turning a little bit offshore here across some of eastern Washington here. Hopefully this doesn't bring down any smoke out of BC down into Washington. We'll see how that goes. But for the most part, we've relaxed the gradient. And that's a good thing for the fire danger over here across some of eastern Washington. You can see some gusty winds still going on across Oregon, but not quite as bad as it was yesterday. Had some pretty stout westerlies coming down off the east slopes of the Cascades through eastern Washington. And this isn't, look, we took a look at yesterday. This is the northern hemisphere. You can see you've got China over here. You've got Alaska, Washington, Hawaii. You've got Africa over here. And you're looking at the polar vortex, or at least a slice of it, some of the upper levels of the atmosphere. And as you put that into motion, you can see the gradient is not that tight. It's kind of non-existent at this time of year. Not a big deal, right? Because we are on our summertime months. And if I scroll all the way through the 16-day period here, you can just kind of see the weak gradient there. But where it is winter here is across the southern hemisphere. Check it out across Antarctica here. You can see South America, and check out the tight gradient there. If I put it into motion, you can see it bobbing and weaving around here, spinning over the southern hemisphere there. So just kind of showing you the difference in a slice of the upper levels of the atmosphere here, winter versus summertime. This is back to the forecast here. We've got the European as of yesterday afternoon. Now we're taking a look at in the future a little bit here. You can see the ridge building, bringing some warm temperatures here on in through the end of this week, and then we try to bring this trough in here for this weekend, and then this system, as it kind of swings through here, that would be the one that's showing up in the European as a little bit of precipitation here west of the Cascades. More on that here in a moment. And this is looking at that system. Let's go ahead and scroll out here. Yesterday afternoon's European run. A couple thunderstorms maybe across some of the higher terrain in the meantime, but then we're going to watch this system out here try to tumble into the western portions here. Not much for Portland showing up yet, but Seattle North getting a bit of measurable precipitation. We'll look at the ensembles with that as well. This would be quite the sight here to get a little bit of precip here in the end of July would be quite rare. This is looking at Everett. Check it out. The control run is calling for 0.4 of an inch with that system, but you can see it's all the way out there towards the 26th of July. Some of the ensemble runs have some of that system showing up as well, but you can see all the ensembles that do not have any precipitation as well. So something we'll be watching over the next few days. Seattle, the control actually had 0.2 of an inch, but you can see many of the ensembles do not have any precipitation. A select few do show that system as well. This is Vancouver, BC. The more north you go with that kind of a system, the better chance you're going to have here. And this is precipitation in inches here for Vancouver, BC. Pretty rainy system there, but you can see still plenty of ensembles in disagreement with that. This is Spokane, not affecting them out there. This is Seattle Metro. You can see the warm-up coming here. This is the European as of yesterday afternoon, and then the trough kind of playing cat and mouse with us here, dropping us back down towards normal, maybe even a little bit below normal here, depending on the strength and position of that trough. This is looking at Spokane, something similar here, the warm-up, and then the trough even cooling them down a bit here, maybe a little below average as we go through the early portions of next week. This is the European, and we're looking at SeaTac here, and you can see up over 1/10 of an inch there, showing that little system there, and we'll watch this one here as we go over the next few days, see if this trends up or down, but you can see the temperatures cooling back down towards the end of the weekend on in through early next week, potentially anyway. And this is Vancouver, something similar here, and this is in millimeters here, so getting up towards maybe a centimeter of rain. This is looking at daily max 2-meter temperature here. Now watch for Seattle. This would be for today, 78. You can see we warm up Wednesday, Thursday, drop it back down a couple degrees on Friday here. Check out the Willamette Valley, though, doing quite well. Look at Wednesday, mid-90s, 100 degrees, not out of the question here for Eastern Washington. Look at Thursday, really baking over there. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, cooling down a little bit as that trough starts to inch towards us here. Ridge is going to be stronger off to the east, but probably some onshore flow associated with that trough. And then as we go through the further portions off in the forecast, maybe a bounce back there as well. We'll continue to watch that. This is a 6 to 10 day precipitation. Look, they introduced a little bit here across northwest Washington. This will include portions of BC as well. This goes all the way through July 23rd to the 27th here, and this is a 8 to 14 day, kind of just a below average signal here across some of the region. This is 6 to 10 day temperature probability outlook, somewhat towards normal for Seattle, but the further you go east and southeast here, the better your chances are going to be for above normal temperature conditions. This is 8 to 14 day all the way through the end of July, a big signal here for above average conditions. Now this is looking at the 7-day significant fire potential. You can see there is no high risk anymore. We shut down those winds here off the east slopes of the Cascades, and so we're dealing with some elevated though across NW7, kind of southern Oregon Cascades there, and some portions of the eastern Washington, northeast Washington as well, dealing with some elevated fire concern as we go through the period coming up here. Nothing too crazy just yet. This is looking at Canada, the interactive map. All these red dots are out of control fires. Central BC continues to burn. Alberta, up across the Yukon Northwest Territories as well. Some of these fires just continue to be out of control. This is looking at El Niño. We talked a little bit about this yesterday, and you can see Niño 3.4 across the equatorial Pacific there. There's Hawaii, Australia, South America, and Mexico. This is where we measure ENSO, the El Niño Southern Oscillation. And you can see our long climb out of La Niña in towards these El Niño conditions here. And you can see that we are now into moderate El Niño conditions. So something to watch as we go. We continue to slightly warm up there across some of the equatorial Pacific. And, well, we've got a lot of time to look at this, but it's kind of interesting to watch the evolution of it. And this is looking at the sea surface temperature anomaly. You can clearly see the warmer than normal conditions off the coast of South America and kind of just gradually increasing here. And we'll just watch this and see just how much of an El Niño we're going to get this year. Are we headed towards a strong El Niño, or are we going to stay moderate here? Still questions that need to be answered. So anyway, yeah. If you're flying out to Hawaii, heads up for that storm out there, especially the Big Island. You could get some flash flooding conditions, some strong winds with that system as well. Maybe some increased surf also. So kind of unusual for July for a tropical storm to be making its way off from the east there. But anyway, yeah, so we're going to be dealing with this trough cat and mouse game here coming up, and the potential for it to even bring a little precipitation eventually here on into the end of July. But, It didn't look great, but it's something. It's basically a Fantasyland forecast for some precipitation as we speak. So anyway, we'll take a look at it again tomorrow. We'll watch all the model runs. We'll see how that's trending. For all we know, it could be totally erased by the time we get towards tomorrow's forecast. But anyway, just something to watch for now. And yeah, so anyway, click like and subscribe. We'll do this again tomorrow, and I'll talk to you guys then.